Hello folks, welcome to Craft Apple today. My name is Caroline and we are going to be making some super cute Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer earrings today. These earrings do require the use of pliers. So if you don't have pliers, I do not recommend you attempt this project. Go buy pliers and then come back. You're gonna need a pair of chain nose pliers or needle nose pliers, preferably without the little squigglies inside that grip stuff, because those will really chew up your metal. I am so glad that this pair does not have that. Okay, so they're flat. These jaws are flat on the inside and they're kind of rounded on the outside. You're also going to need a pair of round nose pliers like these. These ones have kind of cone-shaped noses. They don't have any flat spots. All of the jaws, both jaws here, are round all the way around. They just kind of taper from bigger near the fulcrum to skinnier near the end. You're also going to need a pair of snippers of some sort. I've got side cutters here, but they also make ones that close like this, and those work too. You are going to need some materials as well. You're going to need a pair of ear hooks, a pair of head pins, a pair of nose beads, 3mm-ish round red ones, a pair of head beads, 8mm bicones. You're going to need antler bead caps, which I don't have one loose, so you can just see this one. It's this part that's the antlers. Now those are only available in sterling silver, so we're going to make this whole pair of earrings out of silver. So silver head pin, silver ear wire, as well as a silver bead cap. If you are gathering supplies by yourself and you want to use mystery metal, go for it. It's a lot less expensive, so I'm right there with you. You're also going to need a pair of number 3 or 1/4 inch bugle beads. Alrighty folks, I am going to get my camera turned around facing down so that you can see my work, and we will be right back. Alright folks, here you can see I've got my components all laid out in this little tray here, and I might have to move that off screen so that my camera can focus on what we're doing here. So this is pretty simple. I mean, if you already know how to do this kind of beadwork, you can probably look at it and say, oh, I know what to do. But if you don't, that's why I'm here. So we're going to take one of our head pins. You can see now, while I got it under the camera better, you can see it's got a little head on the bottom of it, and that's to keep the beads from sliding off. So we're going to take that and we're going to string on first our nose, the red nose, and then the bicone. If you've never strung beads before, it's helpful if you hold the bead in such a way that the hole is going side to side or up and down through your fingers, because if you have the hole kind of like this, and my finger is actually blocking the way through the hole, so you want to hold it either east-west like this so that the hole is going through like this, or, you know, north-south, up-down like this, so that you can get your thing through there. Okay, then we're going to put the bead cap on, and you want the flat part of the bead cap to go onto the thing first, so that it's resting like that. Then we're going to put on the bugle bead. Go ahead and put the beads on your other pin right now, just so that it's done. Again, round red nose. Followed by your bicone. Followed by your antler bead cap, the flat side first. And then your bugle bead. Now we have to make the loops. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our chain-nosed or needle-nosed pliers, whatever it is that you have, and you're going to make sure that the beads are all nice firmly down against the head of the pin. And you're going to put the very end of your nose of your pliers up there until there's like a 1 millimeter gap. Like my pliers are pretty skinny at the end. They're only like about 1 millimeter wide, so about the end of my pliers worth of space between my pliers and the bead. You're going to need that space so that when you bend it, and you can see I've got my hands so that my thumb is over one side, my big finger, 3 of my fingers are around the other side, and my index finger is between here so that I can use my whole hand to steady and open and close the jaws of my pliers. So that's just a technique that I've come up with, because some of these little pliers have little springs in there, and these had a little spring-like mechanism, but they kept falling out. And some of them don't have them at all, and so you need to have a way of using a pair of pliers with just one hand and get all of the control you need. So this is a technique that you can use and practice, and it will make your life easier. If you always just have your pliers in your hand like this, so you know, one tip is get pliers that fit well in your hand. Nothing so tiny you can't, there's not enough length to grip, and not so big and long and heavy that they're hard to, you know, hold. So these ones I think are 6 inches long or something, and they're a good size for my hand. So, you know, if you're going to be doing this for a long time and are looking to invest in these, that's a good thing to look for. If you're just trying to find some that, you know, it'll make do for now, let me see if I like it, then something, you know, maybe a little less ideal will work, but might be harder to use. Okay, so that's how I have my hand, so you can see it from the other side. I'm just kind of opening and closing my fingers. I've got both my index finger and my other 3 fingers both pressing against that leg arm handle of the pliers, and just my thumb pushing against the other side. And I'm using my thumb to actually push and pull by bending it too. So I'm using all my fingers here to move these pliers. Okay, but back to what we were doing with them. We're going to position the nose of the pliers. I don't know if you can see that or not. Position the nose of your pliers about a pliers nose width away from the top of your bead. Make sure that the beads, mine aren't, so I got a little extra space here. And if your pliers are wider than about 1 millimeter or 2, you know, come in to about 1 millimeter or 2 away from your beads, or 1/16 of an inch. Okay, and then you're going to hold your beads firmly between your index finger and your thumb, and you're going to see me roll my wrist this way. I'm going to keep my fingers, these fingers here, right where they are, and I'm just going to bend my wrist away to bend that wire over at a 45-degree angle-ish. About like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, because I'm not talented at this yet, or maybe you're not, and I want them to be precise, so I'm going to use my tape measure to measure 5/16 of an inch. Those are 16ths are these little lines. This is a 1/4 inch, 16th, 8th, 16th, 0, or inch, however you want to look at it. So 5/16. 5/16 of an inch right there. That's where I want to cut my wire. So I'm going to put my thumb over my other thumbnail right up to that spot so I can hold it and know. Then I'm going to take my side cutters, which I'm going to hold in the same way as I was holding my other pliers, and I'm going to snip that off just right there, right up at my thumb. And if I'm talented, I'll grab this piece or close my hand around here or something to keep that piece from flying off, because I'm going to use it to practice with here in a second. So I'm going to do that same thing with my other earring. I'm going to push the beads all down toward the head of my head pin so they're nice and firm against my head pin. I'm going to position my plier nose so that there's about a 1/16 of an inch or a 2 millimeter-ish gap between the end of my pliers and the top of my bugle bead. And I'm going to put my thumb and index finger on those beads to keep them from sliding around, and I'm going to just, you can see me holding them still, and I'm just going to roll my wrist until I have about a 45-degree angle in my wire. It looks very 90 degrees. I think I got it 90 degrees. That's better. That's more of a 45 degrees. Okay, and then again, I'm going to use my ruler or tape measure, whatever I got handy, to measure 5/16 of an inch. And I'm going to stick my thumb on 5/16 of an inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5/16 right there. And kind of slide my thumb on so that I can keep that spot. And then I'm going to take my side cutters and snip that off right up against my thumb and try and keep that piece from going all over. Now, this is the part where we'd make the loop on these, but I imagine that you've not done that before, or perhaps you haven't done that before, so you want to grab some of your other pieces and practice making that loop. So I'm going to measure 5/16 of an inch down from the top of my end, and I'm going to place my chain nose pliers there and bend at my 45-degree-ish angle. And now I'll show you how to make the loop on this practice one. I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way. Still in the shot. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay, so I'm holding these round nose pliers the same exact way that I was holding my side cutters and my chain nose pliers. And I'm going to guess. I'm just going to guess where around my pliers I'm going to get the right size loop, because I have no idea. But I want to try and remember that spot too, so that if it's too big, I can slide it to a smaller spot next time, or if it's too small, I can slide it to a bigger spot next time. Maybe I'll use a pencil to mark that spot, or a really fine-nosed Sharpie, fine-tipped Sharpie, something to mark that spot, at least temporarily, until you kind of get the hang of and the eyeball of where you want your loop to be. So I'm going to guess that it's about here. So you can see I've got the end like almost flush with the edge of my plier jaws. Why aren't you focusing, camera? There we go. I can basically rub my finger along here and I can just barely feel it grabbing my skin. Okay, now I'm going to get it back in my hand. I'm going to have my forefinger and my thumb grabbing the straight up and down part to keep it from going anywhere. And I'm going to do the same thing like I did before. Last time I had to roll my wrist away in order to bend my bar that way. This time I'm going to bend my wrist towards me. So I'm going to hold this still and just roll my wrist toward me. And when it gets to about here and it starts to be uncomfortable, I'm going to slightly loosen my grip and roll my pliers back. I'm not taking the wire with me. I'm leaving the wire where it is and just rolling my pliers back and gripping it down again, and then roll my wrist again and continue to do that. Loosen up and roll back, grip and roll toward me. Loosen up and roll away without taking the wire, and then regrip and roll toward me. Let go, go back, regrip, roll toward me. And in a few rounds, I should get this back into line. And I did it a little bit too big. I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. And you can also see that it's not quite flat. That's fine. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm just going to bend it back straight. Okay, so that was pretty good. So if I want to, I can do that again on the other end. I'll take my ruler and measure 5/16, which is about right there. And take my chain nose pliers or my needle nose pliers and bend it over. Take my round nose pliers and grip it so that the end is like flush with the back side of my pliers. Hold the straight up and down part between my thumb and forefinger, and then roll my wrist in. Relax, reposition, roll my wrist in, relax, reposition, roll my wrist in, relax, reposition, roll my wrist in. It's not quite back, so I'm going to do that one more time. There. There we go. Looks pretty good. It's kind of egg-shaped, but whatever. This is perfectly functional, will work perfectly well. And we just want to try and remember where on the pliers we did it so that we can get the same result, or else change the result to the result we want the next time. So go ahead, you've got one more piece that you cut off so you can practice making 2 more loops before you go on to your reindeer. But I'm going to go on to my reindeer now, and we're going to do it the exact same way. I'm going to hold all of the beads between my thumb and forefinger so that they're tight. I'm also going to put this finger like up against the head of the pin while I'm holding it so that it's held in 3 of the 4 directions, from beneath, from in front, from behind, and my pliers are going to be working on top, so I can't do anything from on top. But it is as stable as I can make it in my hand right now. And then I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to find the spot on my pliers where I think it's going to be the best, make it flush with the top of my jaws of my pliers. If I could. Kind of hard. I've got too many fingers I'm using. Okay, and then I'm going to put this down here so you can see me just roll my wrist, release, roll my wrist, release, roll my wrist, release, roll my wrist, release, roll my wrist until it makes a loop. And that looks great. It's a little bit, again, not quite square, so I'm going to grab the loop and my pliers so that the place where it's kinked is right at the edge of the jaw, and just bend that straight. I overbent it. Now it's bent a little bit too much in the other direction. There we go. That's good. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same with the other one. I'm going to put it with the pin against my middle finger and grab one side with my forefinger and one side with my thumb and get this bent piece positioned so that it's more or less at a making an X with the top of my forefinger. Then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and set them in the spot where I think they should go on my pliers with the end of my wire flush with the jaws. And again, I'm going to roll my wrist in toward me, relax and reposition. And roll toward me and relax and reposition. Roll towards me, relax and reposition, and roll towards me. Just like that. And this one seems pretty good. So now we've got loops in the tops of both of our reindeer. We're going to take our chain nose pliers or your needle nose pliers. You're going to find the edge that is loose on here, the one that has the gap. And we're going to, I'm just looking at those, that'll work too. But we're going to open the loop a little bit. We're going to open it by holding the deer in our thumb and forefinger and trying to keep that wire from twisting too much. But we're going to grab the side of the wire that can open and lift it up. Pry it up so that there's a gap, like a side-to-side gap rather than open close gap. It's a door opening kind of gap. So it's a gap out of plane instead of opening the circle. And then we're going to put our ear wire onto the loop, just thread it on like that. And then we're going to close our door the same way that we opened it. We're going to grab it, hold our deer in between our thumb and forefinger, and just move it back down. And we're actually going to move it a little bit farther down than where we want the wire to end up, because it's going to spring back a little bit when we let go. So that ought to get it perfectly positioned. Okay, one more time. We're going to take our deer and find the side of the loop that opens, and open it up by grabbing that side of the loop. I'm going to hold my deer between my thumb and forefinger, and I'm going to lift up that piece of wire so that it opens the loop out of plane. And then I'm going to thread on my ear wire, and I'm going to go ahead and close that loop back up by moving, trying to grab the loop in about the same place, holding my deer between my thumb and forefinger, and moving that limb back into plane and a little bit past onto the other side so that it bounces back right in the place where I want it to be. Like so. And that's it. Now you should have your pair of earrings, and hopefully they turned out just how you wanted. Alrighty folks, thank you for joining me today for this fun Christmas project, and I hope you tune in for another video soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.